Okay, so welcome to class 2. Now, remember, when I say class 2, it's actually class 3 because in intercession, everything is double. So everything is twice as fast. So every day we're going to do 2 classes worth of content. It sounds a bit scary, but it's not going to be too challenging, I hope, or I promise. I guess I shouldn't promise. I say I hope, inshallah. So for the students who were here yesterday or the students who weren't here yesterday, I got a couple things to show you. First, just a reminder that everything is on the D2L. You don't need a book. I'm not going to email you guys every day, every morning. You'll notice this morning I sent you an email about the class today. I'm not going to do that for the whole semester. I will post links to classes in D2L. So everything you need is on the page you can see right now. Again, there's an introductory post which you can read. There's the Ramadan schedule, which for my new students, it's very, very, very important that you realize or recognize that the times change for Ramadan. Everything is moved later. So, if you come to class and you're wondering, why aren't we starting at 7:30 or why aren't we starting at 9:30? It's because of Ramadan. And after Ramadan, after Eid, we have a little break. We go back to the regular times, which is a little earlier, but we'll deal with that when we get there. Now, the other thing I'll mention, and this is for everybody, people who were here yesterday and who were not here yesterday. One, people not here yesterday, make sure you read the course information. I won't go over this again because it is recorded. So make sure you look at this. And 2, this is for everybody, is every time I teach a class, so every day, I will upload the video, typically the same day or the day after, to a YouTube playlist. I'm not going to use Zoom to record my lessons because I have some personal issues with Zoom. They deleted my videos last semester. So I use YouTube. And if you look at the screen, you should be able to see what I'm circling there. If you click on that link, it'll just bring you to just a short link. And then you click on this link and it brings you to YouTube. And the link is a playlist. I'm sure you guys are familiar with YouTube, or I hope you're familiar with YouTube. Every day or maybe the day after, this list will grow. So I'll just keep adding to this list. Sorry. So if you can see my screen here, it says, Math 1700, lecture 1, week 1, lecture 1. And then I'll give you kind of like the topic we're going over. And I'll keep adding to this. Okay, so for the students who missed yesterday, I definitely recommend watching this video. You can, the cool thing about this is you can skip through if there's something but I would watch maybe the first 30 minutes. I know that's a long time. But I go over the evaluation, the notes, the tests, everything. So just check that out if you can. One last thing I'll mention is I typically don't leave my video on the whole class because I write on my screen. And with the video, sometimes it gets a little bit confusing or gets in the way. So if I turn my video off, it's not that I'm hiding. It's just that I write on my screen and it's hard to, I'll be all zoomed in and it looks really weird and gross. Okay. For the students who were here yesterday, the students who weren't here yesterday, we are going through the first of 4 units. Okay, we started this yesterday and I'm going to jump right into this. So Again, if you're a little bit behind or you're lost, you have to check or the video from yesterday. So let's get right into this. Let me just open up my notes here. If anybody has questions, you can type them in the chat. You can turn your mic on and talk to me, interrupt me. I don't care. You know, I'm not a strict instructor. Yes, speaking of this, yes.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. I'm tired, but good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I want to ask you, how many tests we have?
Two tests.
Like the normal semester, or it will be different?
It's basically like the normal semester, just faster. So if you've done Math 1700 before, or you have a friend who has done it, it's basically the same, just faster. But yeah, two tests.
It will be in the campus or online?
Yeah, so we talked about this yesterday, but I don't mind you guys asking the question. As of right now, the tests are on campus as of now. If COVID gets worse, we'll do them online. But as of now, the tests, two tests, and your final exam, which is in June, online. Oh, sorry, on campus. So two tests, one final on campus. Classes and assignments completely online. Okay. Cool. And like, keep any questions, interrupt me anytime. You can type them in the chat as well. Okay, I'm just going to stop my video for a little bit. I know it's nice to see my face, but well, maybe it's not nice to see my face, but I'm going to start writing now. And I hope you guys can see my screen. Oops, I should not have pressed that. Okay. So we are into topic 1. And actually, let me just go back for 1 second. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I am writing through, or we are working through this document here. I highly recommend, if you can, to print it, but you don't have to. The reason I say that is because it's like 160 pages. We are not doing every page. A lot of the pages on this are practice. So, if you look at Unit 1, don't panic. Don't think, oh, wow, how are we going to do this? A lot of this is for you to practice. Speaking of practicing, if you go to topic 1, the answers to topic 1 are there. So if you guys want to, check the notes and look at the answers, when you're practicing, you can see that there. Okay, anyways, let's get back into this. Hold on, share screen. You'd think I would be fast at this. Okay, so properties of real numbers. Hold on, I'm going to turn off the air conditioning because it's cold. Okay, here we go. So yesterday, and again, for the new students or the students who just registered, check out the YouTube video of yesterday. We looked at real numbers. So real numbers could be decimals, they could be fractions, they could be integers, which have negatives, or they could just be normal numbers like 1, 2, 3. There's a few properties of this we need to review before we get into the next section. This is going to be very quick because this is a review. At some point in your math life, you looked at these, what are called properties. And it's going to look or sound complicated, but it's really nothing to stress about, because all of these properties we're going to practice in the next section and the section after. So I'm very quickly going to look at these. The first property here is let me get my pen. You know what? I think I'm going to use red today. There we go. Is the commutative property, hard to say, commutative. Again, you don't have to memorize these. They're just good to know. It's good for review. The commutative property says that if we're adding numbers, two positive numbers, A plus B, B plus A, same thing, sorry. Like think about 1 plus 2 or 2 plus 1. It's the same. And the same thing goes for multiplication. 2 times 3 or 3 times 2, they're both 6. Same thing. That's what we would call the commutative property. It doesn't matter the order we add numbers or the order we multiply numbers. It's going to give you the same thing. We'll do a little bit of practice on this in a minute. Then there's the associative property. This is very much the same as the commutative property. Again, if we have 3 numbers, it doesn't matter which order we add them. There's brackets here, which typically means that we calculate them first. But A plus B plus C is the same as B plus C first, then plus A. Again, all that this means is when we add or multiply numbers, the order doesn't matter. And for the new students, I'm a chemistry teacher mostly. I'm a chemistry and math teacher, but they usually have me teaching chemistry. And this is something a lot of my chemistry students are confused about. They ask, if I say 2 times 3, well, what if I say 3 times 2? It's the same thing. It doesn't matter which order you write them in. Okay, this is a bit of a weird property, the identity property. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Okay. When you see the word in math identity, it typically, like there's an identity matrix. If you've ever done matrices, it's basically adding, the identity matrix is a little different, but it's in this situation, it's like adding a 0. Or in math, this is kind of like the identity, in multiplication, which is like the identity matrix, it's like multiplying by 1. The identity property is basically we're changing nothing. If you add 0 to a number, nothing is changing. A plus 0 is A. 1,000,000 plus 0 is 1,000,000. And the same thing goes for multiplication. But what's really important for multiplication is that it's not 0, it's a 1. A times 1 is A. So 600 times 1 is 600. And honestly, guys, your calculators will tell you this anyways. Okay, the inverse property. Now, the inverse property for adding and subtracting is pretty easy. It's a little bit more complicated than in multiplication. So the inverse property, if you add a number to its negative self, it will equal 0. So 3 plus -3, 0. And when I think of negatives, I like to think of money, right? If you had 5 real and then someone took 5 real, so negative, you have no money. If you go to this, you have 5 real, you go to Carrefour, you buy some milk, it costs 5 real, you have no money. That's the inverse property. So A plus a negative version of itself, A plus -A, so 10 plus -10, nothing. For multiplication, it's a little different. The inverse in multiplication, so the inverse in multiplication, like if I had, let's start with a better number. That's an R. If I have a 3, the inverse of 3 is 1/3. This is something you engineers or medical science students in this class, you'll talk about the inverse a lot. So for multiplication, when you multiply a number by its inverse, it equals 1. So A times 1 over A is 1. 6 times 1 over 6, 1. Guys, all of this, you're like, please do not stress about this. All of this, your calculators will do for you. And I had a student email me yesterday. You guys are completely allowed to use your calculator on everything. On an assignment, you can use your phone, but when you come to your test, you need to buy a calculator. So get a nice a decent calculator from Carrefour or the bookstore. Finally, my favorite property, the distributive property. The distributive property, we're going to talk a lot more about later, but when you have brackets, and this is really important, and we're multiplying brackets, this A gets distributed out, meaning if I had, and like we'll talk about this a little bit later. So if this is confusing to you, don't worry, we're going to talk more about this later. But the idea is, let me clear my writing here. If I have A times brackets B times C, that A gets multiplied by both of those terms because it's outside the brackets. Basically, all of this we're going to look at in detail as we go through this course. So if anybody's confused or you're finding this really hard, I mean, I know it's for some of you, this is the first thing you're looking at. It's really nothing to stress about. We're going to practice this all semester, and your calculators do most of this. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, well, I'm going to do a mix of things. Sometimes I'll just show you the examples and then ask you guys to practice. Sometimes I'll skip the example and I'll do practice with you. So it kind of depends on how hard the topic is. This one's pretty straightforward. It says name the property and then solve the question. So in the first one, we have 5 times 1 over 5. This is the inverse property. Now notice, or on a test or something, you're not going to have to name the property. You're just going to have to do the calculation. So 5 times 1 over 5, guys, you can do this on your calculators. Basically, the 5s cancel and you get 1. So we're multiplying two numbers and the property is inverse. In the next example, we're just adding 3 numbers. And adding these 3 numbers, it doesn't matter what order. 1 plus 4 plus 3 is the same as 4 plus 3 plus 1. It's all going to equal 8. We call this the associative property. Again, don't waste too much time trying to memorize the properties. As long as you can do these calculations, I'm happy. The commutative property is such a hard word to say. 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So they're both 6. The identity property, 7 plus 0 is just 7. And then now this is the hard one, or well, not hard, but the most challenging one is the distributive. 3 brackets 2 plus 5 is the same as saying 3 times 2 plus 3 times 5. Now, why? What's going on there? Well, it's called the distributive property. In English, distribute means to like give something out. So you could say the Ministry of Public Health is distributing vaccines to everybody in Qatar, right? They're giving away vaccines to every person. The distributive property is the same thing. I'm going to distribute this 3. Now, because it's multiplied, it's going to end up being 3 times 2. I keep the plus sign. You don't mess with the sign. 3 times 5. That is 6 plus 15 or 21. your calculator will do this. The issue with calculators, well, most calculators, and the issue we're going to see shortly is we're going to start talking about X's and Y's and Z's, you know, your favorite thing from high school, algebra. And this will become really important later with algebra. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. Don't do number 2. You can try that on your own later. But why don't you guys just take, you know, maybe 3 or 4 minutes and try number 1. And I just want you to see if you can name the property. This will be a little hard if you don't have your notes open. But just take a few minutes, see if you can name the property, and I will be back. I'm going to mute myself. So I'll be back in, let's say, 3 minutes at 9:30. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so like I just said, I forgot to hit record. There's nothing to solve here. We're just going to write the property. This property, the negatives don't matter. I'm taking one number and adding another. And this property of taking one number and adding another, and the order doesn't matter, we call the commutative property. So again, don't worry about this trying to memorize all these properties, but this technique we're going to use soon. Okay, 7 times 1. When you multiply a number by 1, you are not changing anything. And that type of property.
Identity.
Yeah, exactly. Identity. Yeah. Very cool property. Eventually, if you guys go on to do a math degree or you know, you do more math courses and you start talking about matrices, which we will not get into today, you'll learn more about the identity property. Okay, what do you guys think for the next one? My favorite.
Distributive.
Yeah, hard to say. Just distributive. I don't even know if I'm saying these right, like commutative or commutative. I don't know. Distributive or I don't know. It's hard to say. Okay, this one little tricky or can be tricky. We're taking 4x and we're adding a negative 4x. So like, before anybody tells me the property, when you see x, just think of x as the word things. Like x can be anything. X could be the number of Land Cruisers. X could be tennis balls. X could be apples in your kitchen. So now think about this question again. 4 things, and we're going to add a negative 4 things, which, you know, in math means 4 things, take away 4 things. So you have 4 apples and you're going to take away 4 apples. 0. And this is called the inverse. When you add or multiply the opposite, it's called the inverse. Phew. And finally, the last property.
Associate.
Yes, nice. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Exactly. You beat me to it. That's perfect. Some of you might want to say commutative, but because there's 3 things or like 3 numbers, it's associative or associative. So when you're adding 2 numbers or multiplying 2 numbers, we call it commutative. When you're multiplying or adding 3 numbers, we call it associative. And the difference is because of the brackets. But we'll get to that in a minute. All right, don't stress too much about that, guys, but I'm excited because, so for the new students, I'm not doing every practice problem. You guys, I'm going to leave a lot of the practice problem for you. You can think of these like worksheets. The answers are on D2L for these questions. So, like we would never have time to do all of these. Okay, topic number 2. Exciting. Technically, I was supposed to get to topic 2 yesterday. I don't know how, but I'm glad that we're doing it today. So topic 2 is really important, very important topic. I'll tell you two things. One, if you've done math in high school, you've done this before, even if you can't remember it, I'm going to reteach it. Number two, most modern calculators, if you use your brackets correctly, and by brackets, I mean these guys, your calculators will do the order of operations for you, but be very careful with your calculators. Don't trust your calculator all the time. In order to do this properly on a calculator, you need to use brackets. And we'll talk more about how to use your calculators soon. Okay, I got some messages in the chat. We're going crazy. Oh, okay, cool. So Hoda is messaging in the chat. If anybody wants to join, add your number to the chat. You will be added to the WhatsApp. Throw your numbers in there, guys. And then at the end, I'll put my number in as well. Okay. So I'll add myself to that chat, unless you don't want me to. If you don't want me in there, don't add me.
Yeah, sure. You can send your number. I will add you.
Okay. I assume that was Hoda. I'll send my number once all the students have.
Okay.
Okay. So just, I'll give you my number in maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Cool. So topic 2, finally, I'm not a big fan of topic 1. Topic 1 is a lot of like, I guess you would call it theory, or it's not really the math I'm used to. Topic 2 is back to normal math. We're going to do calculations. I highly recommend you guys get a calculator, or at least get a good app on your phone. I have an Android, and I find that the default app on my phone is not very good, or the default calculator. So topic number 2, order of operations. I don't know if you guys remember the order of operations from school, but you might have heard the acronym BEDMAS. Or if you're Britishly, I don't think Britishly is a word, but if you went to a British school, you might have heard PEMDAS. The big difference here is Americans or Canadians, we call them brackets. Silly British people, I'm only kidding. British people use the word parentheses, which means the same thing. Okay, so
Practice is the strongest thing, then the multiplied, then the divide, then the plus minus.
exactly.
Like that?
Yep, exactly. If you guys didn't hear that, basically brackets are the strongest thing. Like brackets in math, we do first, then we would look at other things like multiplication and then addition. And I'm going to explain all of this. I promise. This is I do like this topic. This is definitely something I teach business math, I teach chemistry, something they struggle with. So let's look at this. First things first, operations with integers. If you can't remember from last class, integers are positive or negative whole numbers. So -6, -10, +6, +10. And I'm going to go, guys, I'm going to be honest, between us, I'm going to go through these rules really quick because your calculator does this for you. All right. That kind of hurts me as a math teacher to say, when I used to teach, I started as a high school teacher. And, in high school, we'd make, no calculators. You have to do this in your head. No calculators. It's not like that at the college. You can use your calculators. So I'm going to go really fast through this part because if you don't know these rules, just put it in on your calculator. So, and again, that hurts me to say, but it's true. So addition of integers. If two integers have the same signs, add up their numbers, and then give the sign of the original numbers. So what I mean is, if you add 5 plus 10, it's 15. -5 plus -10, -15. Okay. Again, I'm going to go pretty quick through this. Subtraction of integers. To subtract an integer, now this is where a lot of you guys, if you didn't have a calculator, this is where it gets confusing. To subtract an integer, you add the opposite. Okay, now that's really strange, but I can explain, like, practice problem A. I can, or no, how do I want to do this one? Ooh, sorry, let me clear this. I want to explain this using an example. Well, let's look at this example right here. I want to explain this example using money. Using money is my favorite way to think about negative numbers. Okay, so let me read the rule again and let me explain this with money. To subtract integers, add the opposite. Okay, now first of all, what do I mean by the opposite? Well, -3 is the opposite of +3. The opposite of +5 is -5. Okay, well, look at this example and think about money. I want you to think about debt, D-E-B-T. Debt, it sounds weird because there's like a silent B. Debt, right? Debt. That's when you owe somebody money. So if you have a credit card, if you owe your friend 10 reals, they bought you a drink or a burger or something. I shouldn't talk about food, I guess, if we're all fasting, but you get the idea. If you owe somebody money, it's called debt. So I want you to think about this here. This is saying 6 take away, like subtract means take away, a -8. Okay, think about this. You have 6 reals in your wallet. And you're hanging out
is
with,
positive.
it's positive, exactly. So now why though? Like, it's such a weird thing. Why is this positive? Why is 6 minus a -8 positive? Like, why does it turn into 14? So you're at the mall, you're with your friend, you have 6 reals. And you owe your friend 8 reals. Say he bought you, something. I don't know, a pair of socks or something. I don't know. But your friend says, you know what, Ali or Mohammed or Hoda, I don't care about that 8 reals. I am going to take that debt away. Like, I'm going to remove the debt. You do not owe me 8 reals anymore. So you have 6 reals. Your friend says, I am going to take away that 8 reals that you owe me, that debt. So if you have 6 reals, but your friend says, you know what, you don't owe me 8 anymore. Well, technically now you're up 14 reals, 6 plus 8. Now, I know that's weird to think about because your friend didn't actually physically didn't give you 8 reals. But the idea is that your value, your monetary value went up by 8 because you do not owe any more money. If that makes no sense to you, I have good news. You can just use your calculator. Actually, hold on, guys. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to turn my camera on. Hold on. I'm going a bit slower than I think my other instructors, but that's okay. So I hope you guys can see me. Don't mind my hair. Let me stop sharing for 1 second. So if you can see me, maybe make me full screen. This type of calculator is what I recommend. Let me turn my lights on. Hey, this is a Casio. You can get these calculators at the bookstore. You can get them at Carrefour, Monoprix, whatever. And I just want to show you one thing. Casio FX85. Give me 1 second. I'm going to share something with you as well, another screen in a second. A little bit blurry, but I don't want to waste too much time. So if you look at my screen here, this is the typical college calculator. Some of them are gray. Like a student sent me a picture yesterday. They had a gray one, like it looked this color. The color doesn't matter as long as it looks something like this. And your negative button on that calculator is here. Not here. This is subtract. This is negative. If you have this type of calculator, it's fine. The negative button is somewhere, right? It's here on the bottom. But I don't see a lot of these anymore. This is a TI-83 graphing calculator. Mine broke the other day. Sad. But yeah, if you're wondering about negatives and subtraction, definitely pick up one of these soon. Go to the bookstore, or if you don't want to go to campus, I know some of you might not be on campus at all. Go to Carrefour or Lulu, you can get these. I've seen these at Carrefour, at what's that mall? City Center Mall. I've seen this at Carrefour. It'd be at City Center Landmark, everywhere. Okay, I don't know if Monoprix has them, but they probably do. Who knows? Okay, anyways, back to this. So if I look at this practice here, 8 plus a minus 4, well, that means it's going to be 8 minus 4. That's 4. Now this one, negative 8 plus negative 4. Well, negative 8 plus negative 4 means I'm going to add the
Negative
numbers
12.
together. Sorry, did someone say the answer?
Negative 12.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, this course gets a lot harder. But so this is a pretty easy start, but it does get a little more challenging later. This one, negative 8 plus 4, we would get a negative 4. Now, again, think about that like money. You have negative $8 in your bank account. Somebody adds 4 real to your bank account. Well, now you're only negative 4. For B, you have negative 8 real in your bank account, and then someone takes another 4 real away from you. You have negative 12. The concept of negative can be confusing, but negative is debt. If you owe MasterCard 1,000 reals, you have negative 1,000 real dollars. Like, you know, when you owe the bank, that's negative money. So anyways, I'm going to give you guys a minute or two. Just try some of these. Like, I would love it if you tried G and H, and you know,
Finished.
if you're finished, you can just relax for a minute, but I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to try these, and then we'll move on. So 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. All right, let's just do this really quick, because I don't know what your school is like. In Canada, you would have looked at this like in grade maybe 8 or 9. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I just mean this is pretty old math stuff. So let's look at the answers. Here, I'll go quick through this. You should have got negative 11, negative 9, negative 1. This one, you're subtracting a negative. So you're actually adding this 5. Ooh, look at this one. This one is negative 3 plus 4. So we end up getting 1. And this one is 5 minus 4. That's a 1. Oops. Sorry. 1. Okay, cool. All right, let's move on. Again, I'm not trying to go too quick, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Rules for multiplication and division. And again, this is review for you. You know, at some point in your life, you've done this, but I'll very quickly go over this. Okay. If you multiply two positive numbers or divide two positive numbers, your answer is positive. Again, guys, your calculator will do this for you. If you multiply a positive and a negative or divide a positive and a negative, your answer is negative. If you multiply a negative then a positive, or take a negative and divide a positive, it's negative. And if they're both negative, your answer becomes positive.
Make it like a pizza.
Sorry?
Make it like at a pizza. Triangle, and the positive up and the down, negative and negative.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. And I think you said make it like a pizza.
Yes.
I've never heard.
Piece of pizza.
Okay, interesting. I've never heard of that. But if that helps you guys, like when I was a young boy in chemistry, I just learned that if the signs are the same, it's positive. And if the signs are different, it's negative. So positive, positive, negative, negative, they make a positive. If the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it's negative. And by the way, when I say signs, I mean plus or minus or positive or negative. I'm going to have to Google that pizza example, but I don't want to think about pizza. It's too early. I'm too hungry. I'm sure you guys are hungry too. So no, I won't think about pizza right now. Guys, don't practice all of this, but let's have a little look at this really quickly. Now, some of you guys, you might need a calculator for some of this because you might not know in your head what 81 minus 3 is. So if you have your phones with you, feel free to use your phones. But I'm just going to quickly go through maybe the first three. So 8 times 4 is 32. However, I need to look at the signs. So 8 times a negative 4, negative 32. Negative 8 times negative 4, positive 32. And you don't need to put the plus sign in math ever. Well, not ever, but not in this case. Very important, guy. Well, two important things here. Two very important things. In mathematics, brackets that are touching means multiplication. A dot can also mean multiplication. We do not like to do this in math. What I mean is negative 8 times negative 4. We do not like to do that because later this will mean X, like algebra. So like when we multiply numbers like this, I'm not going to use that ever on tests. You'll never see that. It'll either be two brackets touching or a dot symbol. In math, this means divide. This is how you're going to see divide in the future. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to try this. You might need your calculators on your phones. Feel free to try some of these. So try like D, E, F. Just do these here. You don't need to do everything, but try D, E, F, G, H, I, and then again, we will move on. And Hoda, if you're listening, I'll put my number in the chat now. Just please, I have one request. If you're getting my number, don't write me late at night and wake me up.
What, teacher? Can you repeat?
My phone number is in the chat.
Yeah, okay, I see.
Okay, thanks. Okay, guys, take 2 minutes or so. Try these questions. And we'll look at the answers in 2 minutes. Okay, let's have a little look at this. Now, I'm going to clear my screen here just because it was a bit crazy for a minute. Let's have a look at these. So, of course, we did these negative 32, positive 32, negative 15. All right, let's look at these. I'm going to move a little quick because, again, guys, this is, you can do this on your calculator. Negative 7 times negative 4. So 7 times 4, 21, or sorry, 28. And it's negative times a negative, so it's positive 28. E, the identity property, right? 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times anything is itself, right? So 1 times a million is a million. Now, F is interesting. Again, guys, you can use your calculator for F, but do it piece by piece. So 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And we're multiplying that by a negative 2. So the answer is positive 60. You know, I've said it 50 times. If you can't do that, just use your calculator. G, 81 divided by 3 is 27. But it's a negative and a negative, so the answer is positive. All right, 9 times 4 is 36. But it's negative 36 times a negative 1. So positive 36. Whew. And then the last one, I'm not going to do them all. Again, the answers are online. The reason I'm doing I is because in math, like I mentioned, you're not going to see this, right? And you're not going to see this. What we would do in math is we would say 2.3 and 2 over 3. So this is how we represent division. We use a fraction or a line, a numerator and denominator. 28 divided by 7 is what? 4. And because the top one is negative, it's negative 4. Again, calculator, just use your calculators. Okay. I'm not used to double classes because, well, yeah, last semester I was teaching chemistry and we only had single ones. Okay, so this is huge. This is where I really wanted to get today. The order of operations. Sorry, I just want to see something and then measurement. Okay, perfect. So guys, we're almost done. It's 10 o'clock. It's been an hour. Let's look at the order of operations and I'll just introduce topic 3 and then halas, we are finished. Whoops, sorry, I went too far. Okay, order of operations. In math, there are 4 operations, or we refer to operations in math as 4 things: adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. However, there are other types of, there is another type of operation, I guess, called exponent. Exponent is what you would say in English, you would say,
Power.
Sorry?
Power.
Yeah, power. I was just gonna say that. So in English, like you would say, like if you're looking at this example. Oh, sorry, guys. If you're looking at this example, 7 to the power of 3. Okay. Now, if you're wondering where that is on your calculator, it's here. Oh, hold on. I gotta get my pen for this screen. This button. Okay, it totally depends on your calculator. Everybody's calculator is different. If you ever need help with your calculator, send me a picture of it, or you know, if you're writing your test and I'm with you, I'll be in the classroom, I can show you. But this is my exponent button here. Like, honestly, guys, this is basically how to use a calculator, but I'm kind of explaining everything. So exponent means to the power. 7 to the power of 3 means we have 3 7s. If I had 2 to the power of 4, that's 4 2s. Use your calculator for this. Now, I'm from Canada. I'm a North American. We use bed mass. If you are British, not that if you're British, but if you went to a British school, it might be PEMDAS. It's the same thing. P means brackets or parentheses. How do you spell parentheses? Parentheses? I guess. I haven't spelled parentheses since I was probably a teenager. B means brackets. So this is called an acronym. An acronym is a word that each letter stands for something. So like NASA is an acronym. MOPH is Ministry of Public Health. BEDMAS is when you do calculations, you do brackets first, then exponents, then you divide and multiply, then you add and subtract. Go left to right. That typically doesn't matter, but in math, we typically go, the opposite of like reading Arabic, right to left. In math, we typically go left to right. So brackets first, then exponents, then you can divide and multiply from left to right. The order doesn't really matter. Just go left to right, add and subtract in the order, left to right. Easy. Okay. So there's 3 examples. There's a bunch of practice, and then I'm going to move on to the last topic. Now, guys, one thing I will warn you about is you can do this on your calculators. Just be careful. Okay. So my calculator, I just put this, literally, I put this in on my calculator. It gave me 11. Now, the reason it's 11 is first thing we do is we follow our order of operations. So I'm going to multiply first, then add. Multiply, add. 3 times 2 is 6, so it's 5 plus 6, it's 11. Pretty easy. I want to show you why this matters. If I did the same thing, okay, so 5 plus 3 times 2. What if I added first? If I added first, I would get 16. The answer is not 16. The answer is 11. My calculator does this for me, which is good news. When I was younger, my calculator did not do this. My calculator did the calculations in the order they appeared, but the Casio does it for me. Just be careful. Multiply first, then add. All right, number 2. This one's got a lot more going on. Okay, so we have addition, division, addition, multiplication. I'm going to divide first, then multiply. It actually doesn't matter which order you do this. So what I mean is you could multiply, then divide, or divide, then multiply. It's the same thing. So I'm going to get 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So this ends up being 2 plus 4 plus 6. Add them together for 12. Is this okay? Is this fine with everybody?
Yes, Mister.
Okay. I'm not a huge fan. I got to be honest with you. We're almost done, by the way. If you guys just give me a little bit more time, we're almost done. Yes, you have a question?
Yes.
Yep.
We don't need to know the rule, right?
That's a scary question. Sorry, I'm yawning. That's a scary question. You don't need to memorize the rule like on a test. I'm not going to say explain bed mass or tell me what the acronym means. If you buy the right calculator, you don't need to know this, no, or you don't need to memorize this, sorry. What I recommend, if you buy the right calculator, and again, when I say the right calculator, I just mean something that looks similar to this, They're in the bookstore and they're at Carrefour. They're less than 100 reals, but if you are an engineer, medical science, business, maybe not business, but you're going to need this anyways. To answer your question, if you have a good calculator like this, you do not need to memorize this. That hurts me to say because you should all know this, but let's be real, you do have calculators. Okay, this one's crazy, but you know, it has something I love. It has brackets in it. So look at all the steps to this question. Okay, so you know, step by step, let's do the brackets first. So in my brackets, I have 8 minus 3. So 8 minus 3 is 5. So that's my first step, do the brackets. My second step is to do the exponents. Now, this is very important. Know your calculator. That's supposed to be a star, guys. When you see a star, it means like this is very, very important. Putting this in on your calculator, you need to enter it exactly like this. And I mean this. This is super important. On your calculator, you have to go bracket -3, close your bracket to the power of 2. If you don't use brackets, you're going to get the wrong number. Okay, so be careful with your calculators. As the semester progresses and you guys buy calculators, I'll help you with this a little more. Okay, so -3 squared is +9. Then my next step, step 3, so bed mass, I'm on divide. I'm going to divide these numbers, which gives me a 1. Then I'm going to multiply. 1 times 9 is 9. And then I will subtract and add. These orders don't matter. 9 minus 9 plus 6. The order you do this doesn't matter. You would get 6. Now, if I enter all of this in on my calculator, and I'm just going to show you something in a second, and I'm going to hopefully get this correct, +6. So let me just put my video on again. So I know it's backwards, but I entered this exactly on my calculator. Okay, so just as it is on my calculator, I entered it, meaning I used brackets, I used everything just like my, like the question was in the example. And I'm going to hit equals. And I get 6. I'm not sharing video anymore, but my calculator did this for me. All right, almost done. Here's the plan for the rest of today. I'm going to, like, class ends at 10:30 because Ramadan, we're working a little bit shorter. I'm going to ask you guys to do a little practice. I want you to try some of these, and then I want to just introduce the next topic for tomorrow, and halas, we're finished. So I would like you guys to try some of these. There's a million of them. We're not going to do them all. But I would like for you guys maybe to just try this first page. So just try for the right now. Try these. I will give you maybe 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to try these. We'll look at the answers and then I'll just introduce the next topic and halas. So maybe 10, 15 minutes maximum, we are done. So I'll be back in, let's say, 4 minutes. Okay, 4 minutes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Before you go, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This will this all be on the thing you told us to copy? Like if we can?
Like, yes.
The questions.
Yes. All of this is on D2L. These notes are on D2L and the answers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all there. Everything.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, guys, I'll be back in about maybe 3, maybe 4 minutes. If you have your notes in front of you, you can try some more, but let's just stick to these for now. All right, I'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. Good luck. Okay, so let's have a look at these answers. I probably didn't give everybody enough time. Not a big deal if you didn't finish them all. Again, like a lot of this, guys, you're going to want to do on your own. Like think of this like a workbook. You hopefully can print this. If not, you could get some blank paper and write these down for practice. But let's have a little look at this. So question A, I won't go through the workings for every question, but let's look at a couple of them. So question A, of course, our acronym is bed mass. Sorry, this is hard to do. I'm trying to make sure my mic is in a good spot. Okay, so first thing here we would do is exponents. So you would get 25 minus 2 times 3 plus 9. Okay, I did my exponents first. Next, I would multiply. So this would be 25 minus 6 plus 9. And you would get your answer 28. Again, use your calculators, if you can't do that in your head. 25 minus 6 is 19. 19 and 9 is 28. Here, pretty simple, multiply, then divide. So 40 minus a 24 divided by 4 plus 7. So I multiply. Well, actually, let me follow bed mass. It really doesn't matter if I multiply or divide first. It honestly doesn't. But let's follow bed mass so I'm not confusing anybody. If you're a British student and you have PEMDAS, you would multiply first. But anyways, so let's do it this way. So divide first. 40 minus 3 times 8 divided by 4, which is 2 plus 7. 40 minus 6 plus 7, and you would get 41. All right, cool. I'm just going to show you maybe 2 more. The answer to C, if you're wondering, is 20. The answer to F, if you're wondering, is 41. But let's look at D and E together. All right, D. First things first for D, we would do brackets. But in the brackets, I have a little bit of work to do first. So what brackets means is you do what's inside the brackets first. So the problem here is before I can do anything, I need to solve that exponent. I'm keeping my brackets. I'm working inside the brackets. So 2 to the power of 3 is 8. And then here I would get 3 plus a 6. So I'm going to divide in here. Actually, sorry, 3 minus 6. 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. Okay, so 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Okay, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 3 minus 6 is negative 3, and 24 minus a negative 3, 24 plus a negative 3 is 21. Whew, it looks pretty hard, but honestly, guys, this is just calculator stuff. Okay, so E. 6 minus 2 is 4 cubed divided by 8 plus negative 4 squared. So bed mass. I'm going to do my exponents now. So 4 to the power of 3 is 4 times 4 times 4. What's that? 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64. Too early for me. Yep, 64 divided by 8 plus 16. Do your division next. So 64 divided by 8 is 8 plus 16, and I'll get my answer 24. Is that right for E? Yes. Woo. So guys, if anybody doesn't, if you're confused, if you have mistakes, don't forget you can use your calculator for this. I mean, that's basically what I did. There's some more practice here. You can try this later, you know, if you want to have some more practice. Some of these are very difficult, or not, sorry, not very difficult, but some of these are, you know, challenging. You don't have to do these, but they'd be good practice. Somebody have a question? I'm almost done. I just need 2 minutes. Does somebody have a question?
No, thanks.
Okay,
Did we
cool.
start in algebra?
Sorry?
Did we start in algebra or not?
Well, not yet. Unit 1 is called algebra, but we're working our way into algebra. Algebra technically, maybe not technically, but when you think of algebra, you think of like X and Y. We're getting there, but we haven't started it yet. Was that you, Nasser? Nasser has his hand raised.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Mark. How are you doing?
Hello.
I did my issue yesterday about the DTOL
Yep.
problem. Yeah, they helped me.
Great.
And I want to ask, where do I get the workbook for this term? Like, where can I find it?
Okay, so I mentioned this at the beginning. Okay, so 2 seconds here. I'm almost done, guys. Don't leave yet. Like, just give me 3 minutes. Don't leave. If you can hang around, hang around. I've had a few people ask me where you can get this stuff. You get it. So if you can see my screen, the D2L. So just go home. Like, imagine you're at the home site of Math1700. Click on Content. And the notes, the course notes are here. Course notes are here. And then here is more information about chapter 1. There's answers, there's sample exams, there's review, but the notes are here. And then the answers to your notes are here. Okay?
Okay. We did start in chapter 1, or?
Yep, chapter 1.
Okay. Because this is my first class today, and I didn't attend the other classes. So the Zoom classes are recorded. Like,
yes.
Can I find the?
Yep, right here.
Okay. Okay.
Everything's
okay.
recorded.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
No problem. All right. Okay, guys, it's 10:25. I got to go. Or I mean, you have to go. I don't have to go. But before you leave, okay, one thing. And I meant it to, you know, have a little extra time, but this is fine. We're doing okay. Tomorrow. So what time do I have you tomorrow? So tomorrow I have you guys at 10:40. Okay, because of the strange Ramadan schedule. You know, usually we start at like 9:30, 8:30, 10:30, but tomorrow 10:40 we're going to look at topic 3, which is units of measurement. This is very important if you're medical science or engineering. If you're business, maybe not so much, but we're going to look at things like grams and liters and milliliters and how to convert. Please try to be on time tomorrow, because we're not going to do all of this section. I'm only going to teach you a few things from this section. I'm going to show you the important things that you need to know. We're not going to do everything. So it's really important that you're here tomorrow so you know what to study and what to skip. Okay? That's it for me. I'm finished. I'm sorry that this was a long and boring class, but I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good iftar tonight, or sahur, whatever. I guess
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great evening. If there's any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions, let me know.